3,200 years ago, a powerful interconnected world stretched from Greece to Egypt to Mesopotamia. Palaces towered, trade boomed, writing flourished, civilizations were thriving. And then suddenly, it all collapsed. Cities were burned to ash, writing systems disappeared, entire cultures vanished. And no one knows exactly why. This wasn't just one kingdom falling. This was the end of an entire age. The first global collapse in human history. Today we're diving deep into the Bronze Age collapse. What caused it? Who are the mysterious sea peoples? And could the same thing happen to us? Let's go back to the edge of history, to the day civilization fell. Between 1600 and 1200 BCE, the Eastern Mediterranean was dominated by Bronze Age civilizations. Each one had its own kings, gods, armies, and yet they were interconnected through trade, diplomacy, and war. The Late Bronze Age was an age of giants. Egypt's new kingdom stretched from the Nile to the Levant. The Hittite Empire ruled Anatolia. The Mycenaean Greeks dominated the Aegean Sea. Port cities like Ugarit and Byblos laying trade routes from Mesopotamia to the Mediterranean. These were isolated cultures. They traded tin, copper, gold, wine, olive oil, and ideas. Royal families intermarried. Letters were sent on clay tablets in cuneiform. This was one of history's first international systems. And then it all unraveled. Starting around 1200 BCE, destruction swept across the eastern Mediterranean. Mycenaean palaces in Greece were destroyed and abandoned. The Hittite capital, Hattusa, was wiped out. Ugarit, a bustling port city, sent a final clay tablet. The enemy ships are already here. It was never delivered. The city was already burning. Canaanite cities like Ashkelon and Hazar were reduced to rubble. By 1150 BCE, most major Bronze Age powers were gone. It was one of the worst societal collapses in human history. So what caused it? One of the only surviving accounts comes from Egypt. Carved into stone by Pharaoh Ramses III, around 1177 BCE. He describes an alliance of foreign invaders, the Sea Peoples they called them, attacking by land and sea. He quotes, "No land could stand before their arms. They came in warships, bringing their families with them." The Egyptians called them the Shodan, Sheklesh, Luka, and Peliset. Some scholars believe they were displaced tribes from Greece, Anatolia, or the central Mediterranean. These enigmatic sea people are speculated to originate from somewhere close to Greece, possibly eastern Mediterranean islands. The Hittite Empire had recently fallen. Some speculate these sea people that came from Hittite. They weren't just raiders. They were migrating armies, fleeing famine or disaster, and destroying everything in their path. To this day, the origins of the Sea Peoples remain a mystery. They may have been displaced Mycenaeans, fleeing civil war, tribes from Italy, Sardinia, or the Balkans, victims of famine, drought, or political collapse. Wherever they came from, they attacked Cyprus, Anatolia, Syria, and Canaan. Overwhelming cities already weakened by internal collapse. Some of these groups, like the Peliset, may have settled in Canaan and became the Philistinians, a known enemy of Israel. But the Sea People didn't act alone. They were part of a larger collapse. Modern scholars point to a combination of disasters: climate change, famine, earthquakes, internal revolts, and a whole lot more. The world of the Bronze Age was deeply fragile. Once one part of the system fell, the rest quickly followed. In one of the ancient world's most dramatic battles, Ramses III lured the sea peoples into the Nile Delta. Egyptian archers lined the riverbanks. As the enemy ships entered the ambush zone, they were met with a storm of arrows and chariots. Ramses claimed a decisive victory, but Egypt was drained. It would never recover its former glory. The sea peoples disappeared from history after this, but their legacy remained in the ashes of a fallen world. After the collapse, the Eastern Mediterranean entered a dark age. Greece lost its writing system for centuries. Trade vanished. Cities shrank or disappeared. Oral tradition replaced written history. But new cultures began to rise from the ruins. The Phoenicians, who invented the first alphabet. The early Israelites, setting the highlands of Canaan. The rebirth of Greek civilization centuries later would lay the foundation for the classical age. Out of destruction came a new world, but it would take generations to rebuild. So what caused the Bronze Age collapse? There's no single answer. It was likely a perfect storm. Climate change and famine weakened cities. Migrations and invasions destabilized borders. Trade collapsed, and political systems fell apart. The sea peoples were a symptom of the collapse, but also the accelerant. They didn't just break down walls, they walked through walls already cracking. The Bronze Age wasn't ended by one battle or one people. It ended because a complex, connected world couldn't withstand the weight of its own fragility. And in the silence that followed, new stories began to grow. As for the question, could this happen today? I believe we forget how fragile societies can really be. Maybe one day, we'll encounter another perfect storm. Thank you guys for watching today. A lot of work goes into these videos, so if you don't mind, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe.